Okay.
All right, and we are live.
Yay.
There seems to be a little bit of delay on my camera. Just okay, there we go. We're live. This is our final mastermind for the Leadership Gold for John Maxwell. We'll be doing the last two chapters, and David Patterson is going to be our host. Welcome, David.
Good to be here. Good afternoon, everyone. And so we have come to the end. You know, it's kind of interesting. When we started, I was like, wow, 9 sessions. That's going to take a long time to do. And here we are. We are at the end. So today, like Nanette said, we're going to focus on lessons 25 and 26. However, before we begin, what I'd like to do is kind of hop back to page 24 because to lesson 24, because I was having a conversation with some other Maxwell coaches, and there were some things that came up that I kind of wanted to address that I thought would be good for us to talk about today. So I'm going to hop back there for a second. If you guys go to page 226 and 227, it talks about the different types of people that are in our world. Some helped me who never knew me. Some who knew me never knew they helped me, and some knew me and knew they helped me. I wanted to talk a little bit about that because I think sometimes we don't give people their due when they should receive it. And I wanted to be able to do this in an open format so that if we could talk in front of someone and share words of how much they've impacted us, that we'd be able to share that with them. And so I thought we should take a few minutes to be able to do that. So I'm going to go first. So the three are: some helped me who never knew me, some who knew me never knew they helped me, and some knew me that they knew they helped me. And so I would say one of the people that have helped me who never knew me is a gentleman by the name of Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. And it is a book that has, I guess at this point, 4 or even 5 generations, that it has transcended time. And it's a book that has really helped me understand success principles and understanding how I need to think, how I need to plan, how I need to strategize, how I have to overcome some of the things that are set before us that keeps us from getting where it is that we want to be. And I really think that this individual, maybe he did know at the time or didn't know at the time, but he has had a significant impact on me and a lot of other individuals with regard to their success. And so I wanted to take a moment to acknowledge that author, as well as his book, Think and Grow Rich. I recommended everyone not only read that book, they should study that book. And there's a big difference between reading the book and studying the book. And so that is a highly recommended book by me, as well as an author. Another book that he wrote is called The Ladder of Success. And actually, I read that book before The Magic Ladder of Success, actually. And I read that book before Think and Grow Rich, and I've carried that around with me as well. So Napoleon Hill is someone that has truly helped me who never knew me. Now I'll start with you. Any one of those categories: some helped me who never knew me, some who knew me never knew they helped me, and some knew me and knew they helped me.
Oh, that list goes on about that. That's a big list. The easy one is to share with you some who knew me and knew they helped me, but I don't think you really know what an impact you have, how big of an impact it is.
Yeah.
But definitely I would say my current team leader, you know, the day that I walked back into real estate and, you know, and what happened in that interview, you know, she may have an understanding, but because she had gone through some similar kind of stuff, but I don't know that it was, you know, you can really, really get it, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be her. And then some who knew me never knew they helped me. Oh, I probably would say, you know, a girlfriend that I had in high school, you know, that I was a new girl, and how she reached out to me and you know, it was my friend, and a real support during in high school. I mean, a really good supportive person. And then someone who helped me who never knew me. That's a hard one because, you know, I would just probably have to say an author, and that would be a hard pick too. You know, I mean, I've read so many books, but
yeah,
that's a good start.
Yeah. I would say someone that knew me, that knew they helped me, I would say is a lady by the name of Margaret Ann Ashburn. I met her in 2003. At that time, she was the broker in charge for a company called Russell and Jeffco Realtors at that time. And it was, I believe, in October of 2003 that I walked in her office. I was totally not dressed for meeting with anyone. I was very casual. I don't even know what was going on in my mind. But at that time, something said to walk into that office and get some information about real estate. And Margaret Ann stopped what she was doing and sat down and had a calm conversation with me about real estate and starting a career. And I didn't start really until March of 2004. So she had thought that actually I had just taken the information. I was just another individual that came in, thought they were interested, kicking rocks, and decided not to do it. Come to find out, we had an amazing 4-year career with each other, and she really helped me get along the way to where I am now. So Margaret Ann Ashburn will always be someone that's played a key role in my development and my growth in the early stages of my career, and I always will be thankful for that. TJ, any category, someone that you'd like to acknowledge?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the biggest ones is, you know, my parents growing up. You know, I'm sure they probably realized how much they impacted me, but just, you know, the impact that they have as far as, you know, supporting me and, you know, instilling the work ethic and the drive to succeed. And so definitely them, kind of like Nanette, as far as, you know, the people that didn't know me but have impacted me. There's several authors that come to mind, including, you know, John Maxwell, John MacArthur, Robert Kiyosaki. You know, there's a lot of different ones that come to mind for that. Trying to think, what were the other two?
Someone that you knew, well, your parents was the one. So someone that you knew that didn't know that you helped, that they helped you.
You know, there's been so many people throughout my life that have, you know, come and gone, and, you know, they've played an important role, you know, for that season of time to kind of push me to the next thing. So,
yep.
You know, I can't think of anyone specific, but I know that there's, you know, definitely been people that have come into my life at certain times and, you know, either encouraged me or helped me get to the next level with what I was currently doing. And, you know, and then, you know, kind of I moved on from there. So.
Right. Scott, what about you? Any one of the categories, somebody you'd like to acknowledge?
Well, you know, I think all of them you can really you can think of somebody in each one of those. But I would definitely say Hal Elrod from The Miracle Morning for people who never knew, and of course Dale Carnegie. And I don't know if everybody in this group really knows how much they've helped with Nanette kind of getting this started and keeping things going, and the positivity she brings, and TJ's been a great agent, or a mortgage broker agent for us, and I like hearing his support and appreciate him being part of the group, and I like hearing his the positive things he has to say.
Absolutely. That's awesome. That's awesome. Thank you guys for sharing. I really appreciate it. I just felt like that was something that we really needed to do and put out there in the universe for people to be able to access and see. So if we go over to page 234, it talks about you only get answers to the questions you ask. And I literally was running a mastermind this morning about the importance of asking questions. The conversation was around what should I say, or what should I do, or how should I respond to X, Y, and Z. And for me, it always comes back to, if you're asking great questions, that is script enough, because I think we focus too much on how we should respond versus how we should address what's in front of us. More specifically, how do we service the person that we're looking to be in relationship with? And so on pages 234 and 235, it starts to talk about the 10 questions that we should be asking ourselves to keep us on track as a leader. And number one is, am I investing in myself? And obviously, this is something that we're doing right now. We did this over the last 9 sessions. We're growing personally because of reading this book and because of masterminding and interacting with each other. And so we should continue to find ways to continue to invest ourselves for the purposes of personal growth. So for me, that was a pretty obvious one. And as I go through the other questions, one of the other ones that jumped out at me was on page 236, at the bottom of 236 and over on 237. It says, am I investing my time with the right people? This is a relationship question. And over on page 220 or 237, it talks about how you identify how your time is being used. When I'm with the wrong people asking the wrong questions, I am wasting my time. When I'm with the right people asking the wrong questions, I'm wasting their time. When I'm with the wrong people asking the right questions, I am spending time with people. And then when I'm with the right people asking the right questions, I am investing my time. This is such a great way to distinguish the value of relationships or lack thereof. So for me, this is a question that I'm going to always ask myself, because I want to be in the highest and best relationships to help me and help others get where they want to be and where I want to be. So for me, this was one of the most powerful questions of the 10. So TJ, I'll go to you. Was there any of these 10 that jumped out of you specifically?
No, I didn't have anything that jumped out specifically. I think, what you just went over was really, I think that's important. When you're figuring out where you're going to spend your time, you want to be spending it with the right people, doing the right kind of things. And, if you're with the wrong people, or, even with the right people asking, not spending the right kind of things together, it really ends up wasting, kind of everybody's time. And, so much of our life is built on relationships and spending time with those people, that we really need to be intentional on where our time goes and who we're investing our time in.
Yeah. Yeah. TJ, I want to ask you a question. Over on page 238, it says, am I taking time to think? This is a strategic leadership question. And it says the Achilles heel of many leaders is too little thinking time. And it asks, do you have a place where you think? Do you have a way to shape your thoughts? And do you have people around you that stretch your thoughts? So do you make time to strategically think? Do you have people around you that are helping you strategically think? And do you have specific places where you feel like you do your best thinking?
So in answer to the first one, not as much as I should. It is a goal of mine to set aside that time to think and journal and plan. But I make the mistake of getting caught up in all the busyness and the distractions. And so, no, I probably do not spend as much time just thinking as I should. I mean, there's so many distractions these days, even, with, music and, our phones and just, so many different things that can drag us away from just, being quiet and just sitting there and thinking. And it probably would help if I had a specific place, maybe if I were to get out, somewhere on a bench, away from the phone or away from, any of the distractions. That would probably be helpful, but I'm not as intentional with that as I should be.
What about people? Who do you have in your world that's stretching your thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I work with a lot of great people, from Nanette to Scott, and there's several other great agents that I work with, and just I really try to build my network of just people I know and spend time with people that are going to grow me and push me and help me get better. So I do spend a lot of time talking with people about ways to grow our business and ways to expand and do things better. And so I feel like I'm often talking with those around me that are very similar mindset and pushing me to get better. Yeah.
Scott, what about you? Is there any particular question that jumps out to you of these 10?
Well, let me make sure I'm not muted anymore. Okay.
Yep.
I do have people who, that stretch my thoughts. And, I think I do need to, I also, like TJ, need to set more time aside and really, maybe sit down and focus and do things. I have a tendency to kind of, like, I start a plan and then I don't always, we talk about calendaring and sticking to your calendar. If now your schedule doesn't exist, and I can be bad about actually following the schedule and adding things to my schedule. So I got really good for a couple of weeks and went back to my bad ways. I was just thinking about that this morning when I got up, is how I've started my bad habits again. And so my intent is to be better, starting today on. So in other words, take out some time every morning to do certain things, and part of that's to think and to journal and to reflect and get some physical
agenda. Successful people make right decisions early and then manage those decisions daily. You will never change your life until you change something daily. Every day, if you ask yourself, am I taking care of today? You'll be able to keep yourself on course, correct things quickly when you're off course, and create a better tomorrow. So I think that's one of the things that I believe that would help you start the morning is, am I taking care of the things I need to take care of today before I allow these other distractions to come in my way?
Most certainly. I guess any goal seems like it's a series of choices. Like whenever things go right or things go wrong, it's always a series of choices that you make, and it's all those little decisions along the way, the path to get to where you want to go to.
Yep, absolutely. Nanette, what about you? Any one of these 10 questions jump out at you?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I'll just say something really quick about this one. It said the motive question. I rarely do I hear what I believe is the only right answer for wanting to be a leader, and that is helping others. And that was like, why would you bother going through all the trouble of hanging around people and dealing with all their problems if you didn't want to help them.
Right.
I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me that, I mean, I can find a better way to get my pats on the back, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, my word. But so it was just interesting that why would you want to do that if you're not helping other people? But I love every single one of these questions. The one that you talked about daily, what you do today, you'll never change until you do something daily.
Yep.
Doesn't matter, you know, it's something, it's those little things that you do repetitively on a daily basis. You get up, you take the shower, you brush your teeth, you get your clothes up. These routine things that you do on a daily basis is what keeps you moving forward, you know, and it's the little things. It's not like it's not the big things that you do. It's the little things that you do on a daily basis, you know, and it begins to accumulate like simple interest. You know, and then am I staying in my strength zone? This is something that I am striving for right now, making sure that I'm not worried about my weaknesses and I'm not concerned about my weaknesses. The good Lord's going to have to fill in the spaces where I am not equipped.
Right.
And then because I am fully equipped for what my purpose is, you know, and so, and what his purpose is for me, right? Otherwise I wouldn't be sitting in this position. Yep. So, you know, and just accepting that, receiving that and moving forward is where I'm just trying to be in the zone, you know, and then creating the atmosphere for that. Right. You know, and so, you know, this morning I got up here in the office and I was like, I was so tired of this stuff laying around. We moved into this office like 2 months ago and I had all this crap laying around. And so I decided, okay, this morning I got up here at 7:30 and I hung the pictures. I straightened up all this mess, you know, because I'm just tired of this environment of walking in here with cardboard and, you know, really not feeling this is my space to be able to do my business work. So, you know, it makes it a lot easier to create that environment.
Absolutely.
Can you read it?
When you feel like quitting, think about why you started. Yeah.
It reads backwards to you, doesn't it?
Nope.
No.
Okay. It reads backwards to me.
So you're face fronting, so that's good.
Oh, okay.
It poses a really good question. So because you pointed it out, I'm going to use it as an opportunity. TJ, why did you start? Why did you start to do what it is that you're doing right now?
That's a good question.
What was that?
She said that's a good question.
Oh yeah, that's a good question. As far as this mastermind or what I'm doing in business?
No, just the being in the chair that you're in right now.
Okay.
What made you start where you are right now?
You know, I've always been a very driven person and I always wanted to succeed. And, you know, I had this particular friend of mine just, you know, I've been at this particular mortgage company for about 3 years now. And, you know, almost the first time I met this guy, he came up to me and he's like, you know, why aren't you investing in real estate? Yeah. And I was like, well, you know, I wanted to get the X, Y, and Z done. And, you know, he really, like, almost from day one pushed me out of my comfort zone. And, you know, then he started like giving me books and just, you know, really pushing me to better myself and to achieve. And I really feel like a lot of that was from kind of his initial shove and say, you know, come on, get going. Cause, you know, I was already, you know, doing some good stuff and getting it, but I think he really gave me a extra kick to spend more time investing in myself and growing myself. And then, you know, being able to invest more time in others and grow others and, you know, truly look at being able to help people and then getting to the point where, investing in myself to where I'm doing coaching now. And obviously coaching is never cheap, but it's worth the investment in yourself. And, long-term, it's going to make me better. So it's worth it. And so, it's been, obviously, I think my whole life has been pushing to this point, but I think, that was the most recent thing that's really spurred me to get to where I am now, and has really helped me to continue to be successful.
Scott, what do you think what was the reason for you to start what it is that you started?
I kind of fell into it through friends and through other people. So I kind of fell into it kind of oddly, but once I really started doing it and realizing all the things I'd done in the past, how it was just kind of a culmination of everything I'd done in the past was leading up to this. Mm-hmm. I was just so amazed at how much I really enjoyed it. And just, when I often say, we're not brain surgery, we're not really saving lives, but we're changing lives. And you make such a positive impact on somebody, in such a good way. And the best part about it is we get to help people in all the different stages of their lives right now. And I was thinking about this the other day where I got a first-time home buyer who's closing on Friday. So that, that's probably more joy than, nothing like giving that person their first set of keys. That's just so wonderful. I got a family who's outgrown their home, and they're moving on to a bigger house and new job opportunities and helping them. And then have another client who's, he's past his golden years and in decline, but while it's somewhat of a sad story, they're moving out, but they're moving on to the next stage of their life, and he's moving to a place where he can't take care of his wife anymore, so he's moving to a place where he can. And so it's so great to be able to help people in all the various stages of their lives, and how cool it is at this moment to be helping so many different people in these various stages and be so involved in their lives.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Now, I'm going to piggyback on what Scott said, going back to question 6 on page 238. Am I taking others to a higher level? This is a mission question. When I started out, and you were there in a lot of ways when that started, my mindset was to help others in whatever way I possibly could. And I feel like getting involved in the Maxwell organization with the John Maxwell team, that shifted from helping people to helping people move to a higher level. And there's a difference between those two things. There's a difference between, and this is a conversation that I've been having with several of my friends, that there's a difference between a support person and a helpmeet. A support person is someone that's more like a cheerleader, that they are always there for you. They provide that safety net. They kind of perpetuate the comfort zone, for lack of a better term. And that they're going to be there for you. And if you ever needed anything, that they would be there and give it to you as much as they possibly can. I believe a helpmeet, or someone that takes people to a higher level, are individuals that are wired to challenge you, to challenge your thinking, to challenge how you do things. And they also pour things into you without you having to tell them, and without them needing instruction. That they were wired to be in your life for a particular reason on the journey that helps you go higher. And I believe that there are individuals that are wired to be support people, and there are people that are wired to take people to higher levels. And so for me, I've made up my mind that I have shifted into a new season in my life, which is my commitment is taking others to a higher level. And that's my mission.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for me, that's a big deal, because it really does give you purpose. And one of the things it was talking about on page 241 is your ego getting in the way of your growth? How open are you to asking questions that might expose your ignorance or inexperience? Are you afraid of looking stupid? Are you worried about what others will think of you? looking foolish for 5 minutes or be a fool forever. It's really important for us to embrace individuals in our lives that are willing to ask us questions to take us to a higher level. And like TJ was talking about having a coach that is expensive and yet it's worth the investment. I believe that his coach is also asking him questions of himself as well as where it is that he wants to go. And so I think it's important that people understand the value of having a coach and or individuals that stretch your thinking to move you to a higher level. Yeah. So over on page 244, you will see lesson 26, which is people will summarize your life in one sentence. Pick it now. And over on page at the bottom of 244 and on top of 245, it basically says, what will my legacy be? Possessing principles can help people influence whose lives are a better result of knowing us. That we want to be individuals that we have enough influence in a way where we're taking people to a higher level based upon the focus that we have in our legacy. And so we should get into the habit of asking ourselves the question, what is my legacy going to be? I think that's extremely important for us to ask. And over on the page 245, 247, and 248, there are 3 ways to create a legacy worth leaving. And number 1 is choose today the legacy you want to leave others. And I've turned over to page 246, and it was talking about choose your legacy and be intentional about it. And for me, it goes back to adding value to people from the standpoint of helping them go to higher levels. And I realized that when you are pouring more into other individuals and helping them get to where they want to be to higher levels, your influence expands exponentially. And because of that, your legacy is cemented, because the more that your tentacles stretch out, the more influence you have, the more impact you have on this world. And that impact on the world can last for generations. And so I think that we need to be really intentional in terms of how we're adding value to people and having a strategy for what our legacy should look like. Nanette, what are your thoughts around this question about legacy?
You know, it's interesting because on Mother's Day, I went to go see my grandmother. And I'm 55 years old this year. And so I went to go see my grandma. My mother went with me. My son went with me. And so did my granddaughters.
Okay.
So all 5 of us, you know, the 5 generations were there. My grandma was in the nursing home. And she doesn't have a lot of money, you know. She doesn't have a lot of anything. And she was talking about these arts and crafty things that she was making in her nursing home, and she was going to make one for everybody in the family so that they would have something from her after she was gone. Right. And here's this little old lady who doesn't have much to give, but she wants to give out this little thing so that when she's long gone, this possession I'll have, so that will be, you know, something that to remember her by, her legacy, so to speak. And as I was leaving, you know, I went home and I thought, you know, here everybody wants to have something that somebody remembers them by after they're gone. It's one of those innate, even if you don't have anything at all, you still have this one, you have a desire to have this. I couldn't even believe that my grandma had this desire. She doesn't have nothing to give, but she's already given me everything. Her love is tremendous, you know, and the things that she's done for me for the last 50 years, you know, that is the legacy for me. But she thought it would be this little object that I could carry home with me. But I don't think that's what it was for me. But it's just the fact that everybody has this desire to do that, I thought was interesting. And So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
So basically the intentionality. So like, let me go back real quick.
Oh yeah, wait a minute.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like it's just 247. Most people don't lead their lives, they just accept them. There are people that life happens to them, and others make life happen. And so if I had to do it over, the things that I would have wanted to do more of would be, I wish I would have loved more.
Mm.
And given more, that's so there would be a word that I'd like to change now would be love more.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. What does that look like, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, what comes to my mind is I was in California one day. I went to a church in California, and there was this man there. We were in the church that I went to was about 2-3 blocks from Skid Row, and in Los Angeles. And the chairs, there were no pews. There were just these metal chairs in the sanctuary area. A lot of the people there were from Skid Row. And it's a lot easier to clean the metal chairs than it would be if the chairs had padding or it was a pew or anything like that. So all of the chairs were folding chairs. And I sat in the back, and next to me, about 3 or 4 seats down, was another gentleman who I could smell from where I was sitting. And I have a really weak, strong, gag reflex. And I'm like, oh Lord, please don't let me, get sick because of the smell of this man's next to me. But, and then I started thinking, here's this guy, he's homeless. He hasn't had a bath for Lord knows how long. And something pretty cool happened. I went over there and I said, well, let me pray for you. Okay, let's pray together.
Mm-hmm.
And so we prayed, and I prayed for him, and then he said, I'd like to pray for you.
Mm.
And this homeless man prayed for me. And then something clicked in me, dude, this homeless man prayed for me. And so just how, I don't need to go to church with this, but, I think and you understand what I'm saying, if I could just love that way.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Going back for clarity's sake, under page 244, what will I leave behind and what will my legacy be? There's three things that normally can impact your legacy. One is possessions, one is principles, and one is people. And I think that really points to the principles piece of you wanting to love more or love better. And there are principles around that. And that is a perfect example of being able to display that so that your grandkids can see that in you. Because our works are sometimes our best sermon versus telling your grandkids or telling other individuals, this is what you should do. I know that one of the biggest impacts that I had of people that knew me and knew they helped me were my parents. I don't think that they understand some of the things that they taught me without telling me, which is I've seen them give their last dime to people. And there have been times where I have helped people knowing that I probably could have kept that for myself to do other things. And yet, as bad of a situation as I might have perceived my situation, it wasn't as bad as the person that I helped. And so I desire to be someone that practices principles of love. I know that I have a long way to go with that, and yet I would love for that to be part of my legacy of loving well and being someone that exhibits Christ-like love. And that is something that you have to strive for every day. And there's things about us that has to die, not only from a spiritual standpoint, but just in other things as well. Like Scott was saying, there were some bad habits they were starting to pick back up. There's aspects of us that has to die for us to move into our highest and best use. And so awareness is the first step. And then it's a matter of making the right choices to move forward where it is that we need to be. So, Scott, in terms of the legacy that you want to leave behind and some of the things that you think about, where are you with that in this stage of your life?
Sorry, I have to unmute myself.
That's okay.
I would say I still have quite a long ways to go. I definitely have not achieved the goals that I want for myself. And I don't think, if I were to, I guess, depart today, I definitely don't think that it would leave the legacy that I wanted to create. We set kind of a large goal to help out a lot of people and in different ways. And I don't think I've, really kind of touched the surface from the goal. So.
Yeah. What about you, TJ?
Yeah, I definitely agree with Scott. I feel like I've still got a long way to go on my legacy and, what I want it to be and what I want it to grow to be. But I think it's important, even at my age, to start thinking about that and what you want it to be. I mean, because, none of us is promised tomorrow, but we all kind of think that we've got forever to do that. But yeah, it's important to start building up to that legacy and what you want it to be now. And so that when you finally do get to that point where you pass on, then it's already there and you're not having to worry about it. So.
Mm-hmm. So over on page 251, it talks about, are you living that legacy today? And I love the questions that are in this section on number 3 of the application exercises. It says, does your current life conform to the life sentence you have written for yourself? Which assumes that we've kind of conceptualized a particular legacy that we want to leave. And then it asks some questions with regards to how we're doing and progressing to that legacy statement, which is what must you or what must we stop doing? 2, what must you or we start doing? What must we stop doing? What must we start doing? And what must we do more of? And I think Nanette has hit the third one when she was talking about loving more, being better with regards to love and exhibiting love. I think she pretty much spoke to what must you do more of. For me, I have to start being more courageous about things. I had a conversation with my mom about feeling like at times that I don't operate in the level of courage that I should be exhibiting as a leader. And Mom was reminding me of the things that I've accomplished that took courage for me to achieve. And so she was reminding me of the good things and not so much focusing on the things that still needed to be addressed in my life. I understand, though, to move to the next level of where it is that I want to go, it's going to require an increased level of courage. And so that's one of the things that I feel like I've got to start doing, is being even more courageous. So, Scott, is there something that you must start doing or something you must stop doing, or is there something you want to do more of?
I think, being much better use of my time, I think would make it something I talk about. We've mentioned before that, not how much hours in your day, it's how much work you get accomplished in those hours. But I think I just need to be more focused, and I think by becoming more focused, I'll get more accomplished, and I'll help towards my legacy and towards everything else, and it'll make many improvements in all the different levels of my life, and that way, I get more accomplished at work, and then I can get more time away from work, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
What
about you, TJ? Same question. One of the three.
I think one of the things I need to start doing is saying no. And we talked about this some in our last session. I say yes to too much stuff, and I let people control my schedule and my time. And I need to say, no, this is my schedule. This is what I've got planned. I've got time at X, Y, and Z time, and we can do it then. And so I think that's one of the biggest things that kind of pulls me away from my legacies. I say yes to too much. Yeah. And I need to be able to prioritize and say no.
So, TJ, I'm going to stay on you. In the conclusion of this book, it says information alone will not help you become a better leader. You need to apply it to your life if you want to change and become better. One of the things that you said is that I've got to learn how or to just do saying no more. Is there one or two other things that you've gotten out of this journey through Leadership Gold that you said, I've got to do less of that, or I've got to do more of that, or I've got to start this?
We've talked about so many good things, and one of the things that really stands out, along with saying no, it goes kind of hand in hand, is again the scheduling your time and being very
prioritization.
Yeah, making sure that you're being effective and efficient with your time, and that kind of goes against my personality. I'm just like, I'll do it whenever, or I'll get there, and I know my personality is not being effective with my time. So that's something I need to do. Is I've gotten out of this, and of course it was something I already knew, but a lot of this stuff, stuff we already know. It's just being reminded of it and actually sitting down and thinking about it and putting it into practice. So those would be the two big things: is saying no and being effective with my time.
Okay. Scott, what about you? One or two things that you've gotten out of this that you've got to implement?
I guess one of the biggest things is who I'm kind of, as we move forward, as we grow, thinking about, hiring and bringing on new people and surrounding myself with the right people. I really like about the Eagles and the Ducks and then also just in my personal life too, is that being a little bit of an introvert, I don't socialize maybe as much as I should. And I think I need to maybe go out and reevaluate, or I shouldn't say reevaluate, but look at some of the people I'm hanging out with, or maybe try and find, kind of a different class of people to associate with, so that, that'll help me achieve my goals. Because, we're always taught you're the sum of the five closest people to you, and there's nothing against the people that I'm around now, but if I want to get to the next financial status and get to the next level of business, I need to learn to think like them, and by associating with them, I will learn to think like them.
Yeah. What about you, Nanette?
Do you mean something about the whole thing, or just
the
whole thing?
Is that what two or three nuggets that you say? Well, you get. One of them has been to love more. I think that relates to your legacy piece. Is there a couple of other things that are principles in here that you want to make sure that you're implementing since we went through this material?
Just the continued growth, I can only take you as far as I've been, you know? And so if I want to take you further, then I need to grow more. And that means, you know, I'm not listening to the people that are telling me, why are you spending so much time reading a book? You read a book every day? Really? No, I'm not listening to those people. And I don't read. I mean, I do try to read every day, but, you know, I think that's it. Golly, there's so much, you know, there's just so much. I mean, but getting to know yourself and accepting who I am, you know, my Facebook status this morning was, you know, listen, I am who I am. I'm not perfect. I'm going to let you down, and nothing's going to disappoint me more than if I let you down. But it's going to happen. I accept that. That's not going to stop me from trying, though.
Right.
You know, so, and just it, and if you're really concerned about what your hair looks like or how many commas you have, those are the things that are just not going to make a darn when you take your last breath. What's going to matter is that for me, is whether or not I was significant.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage you not only to go out and be kind, but be significant in that. You know, it's easy to be kind, but in order for me to be significant, I've got to take the next level. Take it to the next level. Anybody can be kind. They open the door. Okay. But I mean, when you got this little old lady that needs to walk across the street, you open the door, you hold her hand, you make sure she gets to the other side of the street, but be significant.
Right.
You know, be that person that really did make a big difference in that person's day.
You know, this one is not as heavy as some of the other stuff that we've talked about, but this is one that really hit me that I don't think that I've done or been in a position to do, but will help me in the future, was lesson 18. The secret to a good meeting is the meeting before the meeting. I think it's really important to make sure that we have our influencers lined up, because it keeps us abreast of what the pulse is of our organization that we're building or involved with. And it makes it a lot easier to establish policy or principles or a direction or a vision, because we're involving individuals before we have the general consensus meeting of where it is that we're going. I think that was powerful for me because I could visualize in a future world, I've got to make sure I've got my eagles in line and that I spend time with them and make sure that they are heard and make sure that they are part of creating a vision and a purpose and a policy around the direction that the organization is going. So that was a powerful one for me, that it seems obvious, but when we lose track of how we should be leading, we miss this because we're so quick to implement versus making sure that we have everybody that's on board that needs to be on board. And that can happen in building a team. It can also happen in the volunteer world. Because if we have other individuals that are working with us that's helping us achieve a goal, when we establish this principle, lesson 18, it really will help us get things done more effectively and efficiently. Okay. Any final thoughts, people?
What's your next book you're reading?
The next book I'm reading is Develop the Leader Within You 2.0.
I read that book.
Yeah, I'm in chapter 4 right now of 10. We're actually doing a mastermind here in Atlanta. Yep, doing a mastermind around in Atlanta around that. I'd be open to have a conversation about masterminding around that. that would hold me accountable to getting through the book and developing the content. So I'd be open to that.
Okay, that's a good thing. Maybe when I get back from Atlanta, we might be able to start something like that.
Yep, absolutely. And as I said in the past, and then it has mentioned, we're going to target something in September for a day event. And as soon as we kind of getting some details and straight, we'll let you guys know. I definitely want to get TJ involved because we'd love to have the McLean brand on that. And I think there's a win-win by doing that we can talk about down the road. But this has really been an enjoyable experience. I really have gotten a lot of it, and I really hope that you have as well.
Yes, sir. It has been very good. Really good.
Yeah, it's awesome. Good
Definitely enjoyed it.
Wonderful. So you guys have a great holiday weekend.
Thank you. You too.
You too,
Yeah.
and I'll see you in a couple weeks.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Take care, everybody.
Awesome.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye-bye.